In this video, I'm going to show you the 9 best exercises to build that grappler's physique. These exercises are in no particular order. I went through all of these in one session, but for you, do not do that. I did that just to show you guys. These 9 exercises you can spread out over a week. In fact, if you have done my Farm Boy Strong grappling program, down in the description as part of the community, all these exercises are part of that as well. These are pretty much some of my favorite training exercises that I love to do regardless of what I'm training for. Now, when we talk about grappling strength, as one of my jiu-jitsu coaches has said, hips and grips, and that's what a lot of these exercises target. Many people, especially in jiu-jitsu and grappling, get caught up in the bodybuilding bro split mentality, smashed chest, smashed arms, whatever it is. But these exercises will give you that strength and size to transfer to the mat, specifically the hips and the upper back. The upper back is what gives you that power look, that wide, big traps, wide shoulders, wide lats, and then the hips to go with that, and that strength to transfer to manipulating other human beings. So, the first exercise I did on here, the power clean and push press. Now, you might not think, okay, Olympic weightlifting, that's not what you're going to use to build size, but when done in a certain way, you can definitely use Olympic weightlifting to build size. You see the backs on some of these elite level weightlifters. Yes, there's doping involved, but there's also doping involved in jiu-jitsu regardless, but the volume of pulling that they do builds those back and leg muscles. And the power clean and push press is one of my favorite exercises to do as part of that. Now, I like to do 2 plus 2, meaning 2 power cleans and then 2 push presses. I found that to be the best way to go about doing this when you're looking to build size. Obviously, you can play around with those numbers. 2 power cleans, 1 push press, 1 power clean, 2 push presses. You can even go bigger, 2 power cleans, 3 push presses if you're looking to do more overhead stuff. So there's lots of room to move within that one exercise that gives you a lot of variation. Again, you can go from the floor. You can see in the video that I'm going from the block, so slightly above the floor, just because it's in my garage. You can do either. You can even go from above the knee with the blocks as well, whatever you want to do there. So the second exercise that I did today was the fat bar power clean and press. So just a variation of the power clean press. Now we're going to use the fat grips. I did a whole video on fat grips, in fact, not too long ago. You can check that. I'll put that in the description as well. But essentially, the fat grips make the bar fatter. It's harder to grip. This is part of your grip training. If you don't need fat grips, if you have a fat bar or an axle bar, but I don't have one, fat grips work for me. So the power clean is going to be a lot different when you do this. It could be a muscle clean. It could be a really awkward style power clean. Obviously, the first thing to give is your grip. So if you hit or brush too hard with the legs, the bar might slip out of your hand, so be careful. And in the rack position, you're just going to press, no momentum from the legs, and that's going to build the upper body strength too. Again, I like to do, you can do 2 plus 2, but for this one, I found 1 plus 1s, 2 plus 1s, 1 plus 2, or 1 plus 3 work best for this exercise, especially when you're going to nail down the overhead portion. Then we have the front squat, a staple within most training programs, definitely a staple within a lot of my training programs, especially for combat athletes. I really like it for grapplers as well. Obviously, it's front loaded. You have to work against something pulling you forward, just like you would on the mats when you have opponents pulling on your neck, pulling on you, trying to break posture in the guard, whatever it is. You're essentially loading and building your leg strength while having to support load on your upper back, which makes it perfect for grapplers. For the front squat, again, 3 to 6 reps. You can even go as low as 1 to 2 if you're doing some heavier singles and doubles, but typically 3 to 6 reps. You can get 2 to 4 sets for most of these exercises. Anyway, you can build up to heavier loads. You can go a little lighter, whatever you want to do. I like to pause a little bit at the bottom as well, so you're not always bouncing out of the hole. Either way is fine. We then have the snatch grip high pull. And in my experience, this is the one exercise to blow up your traps and upper back. There is not a single exercise that will do it better than this. And the snatch grip high pull you can do from the blocks or from the floor. I like doing these from the blocks because you can focus more on loading the upper body and getting that big shrug and pull with the arms. Honestly, you do these for the first time, your traps will be sore for a couple of days and you won't even feel like you really worked them in training. You're gonna make sure that you push with your legs as well. It is a leg exercise still. But again, it has nice carryover to jiu-jitsu and grappling, especially when you're trying to get mat returns, getting the hips in, doing whatever you're doing during your stand-up. We then have the Romanian deadlift. And obviously the Romanian deadlift, again, is a staple strength exercise in most training programs, and it should be. You're strengthening the lower back, glutes, and hamstrings, lengthening the hamstrings, bulletproofing your lower back. It's just an all-around great exercise. as you do this for jiu-jitsu. Again, I didn't do too many for this video because my hamstrings were fried, but making sure you're pushing your hips back and not just bending over. That's the point. I've got a video coming out breaking down the remaining deadlifts for grapplers coming soon. Then we look to the one-arm dumbbell row. And I really love the dumbbell row variation over the barbell row variation. One, it takes the lower back out of the equation. As you see with a lot of these exercises, it's lower back intensive. The dumbbell row gives you a little break, but it's part of one of our grip exercises. It lets you go heavy and high rep. So if you're familiar with the croc row, essentially it's 20 plus rep dumbbell rows with the weight that you can do for 10 reps strict. And you're doing your 10 reps strict, and then obviously as you start to fatigue, you start to use some body English. You can use straps as well, but for jiu-jitsu purposes, I like to do it no straps. You work your grip, you're getting high reps, heavy loads, and you're building your lats and upper back. It's a great exercise to have in your program. We then, for the purpose of my garage, have a close grip floor press with the fat grips. Now, I do the floor press because of the garage, but I prefer doing this as a close grip bench press or a close grip fat grip bench off the pins, starting at your chest. Now, this will just build unreal strength. If you need to put meat on your triceps, you need to do the close grip bench press. No amount of pumping cables and whatever you're doing for triceps is going to get you the meat on your arms like this is going to do it. So if you have the option, use the close grip bench press or bench out of the pins with the bar at chest height with your fat grips or fat bar. And again, you're going to double up on triceps and grip and your pressing strength with that. We then have a strongman style exercise, something a little more awkward and rugged, and that is the sandbag loading. Obviously, you can carry the sandbag too if you have space, but the loading I like because it gets your hips involved, similar to how if you were in the stand-up position and you had a body lock on someone, you need to get your hips in to your opponent to make sure, one, you're not going to get thrown, and two, so you can finish your mat return. And that's what I like about the sandbag. It's awkward. As you can see in the video, I'm just repeating the video because I only did it once. The sandbag I got from someone isn't filled properly with sand. It's got separate bags in it. So it's extra awkward with that bag. But if you have a sandbag, a heavy sandbag, use it for this purpose. Loading is going to get your hips involved, get your upper body. You can work your grips. You can use various S grips, gable grips, whatever you want to do. You can even go no grip and monkey it like this, like a clamp. That's another way you can work your forearms and grip with the sandbag. And finally, we have the fat barbell curl. Again, using the fat grips or a fat bar is going to incorporate more of your forearms and grip and wrist and thicken those wrists and tendons in there to help them become bulletproof. Now, the fat grip curl, the barbell, you can do these heavy as well, 6 to 10 reps within that. Obviously, just be careful. If you do a lot of these, you can potentially run into some elbow problems. Especially if you have done jiu-jitsu or grappling for a long time, you might have some issues with the straight bar. So you can also use an easy bar. You can put fat grips on, cable attachments, all sorts. You have all sorts of options with your fat grips and with fat grip curls. You can also do reverse curls, hammer curls. There's so many different variations. I'm just showing the fat barbell curl because that's a very simple variation to use. Now, as you can see, there's not much equipment involved in this. I just used barbell and plates. I had some soft blocks in here. I mean, you could do this whole thing without the soft blocks too. There's a couple of special pieces of equipment, like you might need one dumbbell, a sandbag for one of the exercises, and maybe a bench and rack if you're going to do the close grip bench, but they can easily be substituted for things like weighted push-ups. So if you have minimal equipment, this is easy something you can put together. You can literally do one of the pulling, you can do the power clean push press, you can front squat, you can finish with some pulls and some rows or presses, and overhead presses, and you're good to go. Things like that. It's very simple. You don't have to be so creative and do so many different exercises for your training program. You can keep things simple. If you go by the old-time strongman style training programs, they relied on abbreviated and ultra abbreviated training programs. We're talking 1, 2, 3 lifts a day max. And they just focused on a few key lifts and just got brutally strong at them. So those are things that transfer well over to jiu-jitsu and grappling. If you're doing other combat sports, it's dicey whether you want to do that or not. But for grappling, because it's such a strength-orientated game, it's something you can do. So those are my 9 best exercises for grapplers, jiu-jitsu athletes, wrestlers. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share it with everyone you know. Comment down below. Let me know what else you want to see. I've got some ideas. I've got some other topics that I want to pump out for you guys, but input from you guys gives me direction with what you want to see. and where you want this to go.